Woo! All right. I love those guys. They follow me everywhere. I make sure of it. I should get your own crowd, man. It's easy enough. Welcome to the Scott Miller Show. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. On my first video, I mentioned that I don't edit my videos, and the reason is that I've been doing 20 years of live radio, and when you do a live radio show, it's gone. There may be some things that you would like to have back, but you just can't get them. There's a lot of voice tracking going on in radio where it's all pre-recorded and all sounds perfect. And I might have used that, when I was doing 7 to midnight, might do the last hour, last couple of breaks, put those in the box, record them, and then you can listen to yourself on the way home. That's kind of cool. But for the most part, live radio was always where it was at for me. Because you got to be good right now, and you got to be practiced, and you got to study, and you got to be ready to bring some content to your listeners. I mean, I'm not there for not this pretty face. And my first video was about retirement, and it was about the things that you might feel you need to replace in your life, the things that you enjoyed about life, but now that you're not working, you don't get those anymore. So you got to find a way to replace that. So if you want to know more about that, watch the first video. But this YouTube channel is part of my thing, right? Like I miss writing, I miss producing, I miss my listeners, I miss being engaged. So I figured, what the heck? Let's try a YouTube channel and see how it goes. So it's 2025, people. If you wanted to start something new, now's the time to do it. Why not? What are you waiting for? I have to say, sometimes you got to step outside your comfort zone. And here's a little thing from me. I hate myself on video. I absolutely despise this thing being recorded in any way, shape, or form. I've sung in churches and weddings and stuff, and people record it, and I'm 6.5 feet tall, and I got this stupid face sitting on top of it all, and really being videoed is probably my worst thing. But this is the venue that I have, and so I have to kind of break out of that, and maybe you'll just throw a washcloth, over the screen and just listen, like a radio show. But what I wanted to say was, today I want to talk just a little bit about the word influence and influencer. And on the thumbnail, I said that in 1969, I was an influencer. And that's true, because I was 10 years old, and I was in 5th grade, and I was the class clown, and I was trying to influence all the other kids in class to not pay attention to the teacher and put their eyes on me, because I was funny and a little silly. And that's what happens when you grow up, without parents, or you get good attention, no mother, no father really, and no father at all. But, when you don't get some attention from the outside world where you live, then you just put me in a school and you gave me 30 audience members in which to try out my thing. So I spent a lot of time in the hall. You can tell, can't you? So for influencer, I went to the Webster definition just to make sure I was right in line. But it's the capacity to have an effect on behavior on someone or something. Right? So who's our influencers? The lobbyists in Washington, D.C., right? They're all got their agenda. They got their corporations behind them, or their nonprofit, and they're trying to influence senators and congressmen to do what they want. Politicians or influencers, hey, vote for me, this is what I'm going to do. Car salesmen, influencers, it's got slotted disc brakes. How could you not want this car? I'm trying to influence you. Parents are the biggest influencers, or should be. We'll talk about that in another video. Teachers are amazing influencers to give these kids a sense of industry and a yearning to learn and stuff like that. And the fact that the teachers are hanging in to the rate that they are just shows the amazing intestinal fortitude. I've subbed the lower grades. Yeah. So I would say anybody that wants to be critical of an educator needs to go sit in the seat. Go sub a 2nd grade class, or, like it is now, sub a class that's 2 grades that has, 4 or 5 kids on an IEP that have anger issues and all this other stuff, and go ahead and try and teach yourself a class. I invite you to make a video about it and share it with me about your success. Anyway, since the internet has allowed basically anyone to have a little mini TV show, right? That's what it is. It's their little TV shows. And the concept is no different than what we all grew up with, TV and radio. If you've got a popular show, Seinfeld or Friends or something like that, and you could charge an arm and a leg for the advertising, and that's really like, how many viewers do you have? How many followers do you have? It's the same. It's the same thing. Radio is no different. If you've got good people on the air and you've got great music behind you, you can go out and make some money because you can charge more. But that's where the advertising dollars are, right? Is in the ears and the eyeballs. And so, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the internet. And while it's mildly annoying, I have to say, excuse me, to see a 17-year-old who makes six figures because of the makeup she uses, and she drives a Lamborghini to high school. That's an interesting part, right? Don't you wish the internet existed when you were younger? Like, hey, I ride a Schwinn bicycle. Why doesn't everybody buy me a bicycle? And I'll evaluate them for you, and I'll drive them for free. That would have been great. So there's a little jealousy there, right? Who wouldn't want to be 17 and get $1.6 million a year because of what you throw on your pretty face? That's not such a bad thing. And the other side of it, too, is the tragic side, right? Is to see how many influencers have died very, very young, trying to get more followers, trying to get that shot. And for the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, right, we've been watching. These people fall off of everything. I mean, literally everything, from balconies to bridges to cliffs to waterfalls in front of the rocks in the ocean, cars, boats, trains. Did you see that last one? The woman's hanging out a train, a moving train. Did I mention it was moving? Hanging out a moving train with the phone. And we'd have never seen that video if there was a phone pole there, because nobody could have watched that nonsense, right? But the fact that she got yacked off with some bushes and some trees, some branches that were up against the train thing, she got scuffed knees and picked gravel out of herself, and she didn't get thrown under the wheels. But I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing to me that I find it absurd, because I've sold a lot of stuff in my life. I've sold cars. I've sold everything, and I want to sell a car as bad as anybody and make some money, but I am not hanging out of a moving train to do that. There's a line there somewhere where my personal safety interrupts my my lust to make some money. So I'm not sure where it's going. I certainly hope it goes down. But every time you raise the bar on the internet, somebody else got to beat it, right? So, oh, I'm doing this risky behavior. Well, I'll out-risk you, But I think on the bigger picture that we're looking at is that we've handed over a lot of our advertising to the kids, right? Adults used to be in charge of advertising, right? So, yes, the TV commercials are awful, and some radio commercials are awful, and adults were all in charge of that nonsense. The misogyny and, oh, my wife, I think I'll keep her, all this garbage. But it was adults. So look at it from a different perspective, is now that a lot of children, and I call them children, they're under 21, they're in charge of advertising. And so now you're putting the bar on what you'll do in the hands of somebody who doesn't really have the experience, knowledge, or, they got that bulletproof thing going on where nothing's going to happen to them. So all I would say is, if you know a TikToker, an Instagrammer, a YouTuber, if you got some young people around you that are doing this sort of thing, man, just break them off and sit them down, give them some tough love, show them some, what's this got to be an endless stream of articles of dead influencers that have done really phenomenally stupid things and aren't here anymore to tell about it or spend their money. So I don't know. Do you feel that way as an older person? You just kind of want to counsel these young kids and try and draw some kind of line between, what's cool and what's, out of the mind, stupid. And I got a lot of safe things that these kids could do for, seriously, there's a list of safe activities that you can, maybe you could come over and influence all the leaves and the sticks and twigs and stuff out of my backyard. There's an option. Come over in your neighborhood and influence the snow off of some old person's walkway. You could do that. So that's where I think the parents should step in a little bit more. All right. So if your kid's really into the internet, that's fine. But balance it. Send them outside, rake some leaves, clear some snow, help out some other people. See, the life part of it, not just. I think the scariest thing is this little bubble that they live in. This little bubble of their own phone that only tells them what they want to hear, which is why they probably don't get those videos of people dying because, it might stop somebody. I don't know. I just think they live in this little bubble, and a lot of people do, where they only hear their own echo voices back to them. And I don't think that's very healthy when it comes to the overall thing. So that's all I want to say about influencers. In closing, I wanted to interact with you guys a little bit and throw your comments down below about your pet peeves for the internet. I'm going to give you a couple, and then I'm out of your hair. The first one is watching these videos, the fail ones, Fail Army or whoever else is putting up fail videos, people falling, tripping, and they have the audacity to try and clear their own conscience, I suppose, by putting the statement, no one was harmed. All right, so I just watched a guy do about 25 miles an hour on a skateboard, and he lost it while coming down a railing, hit it with his groin, and rolled that down for the next 25 feet. He was harmed. I'm sorry. And actually, I was harmed because any guy that watches somebody get hit like that, you can't help but react, right? The first thing you do is like contract and just go, ugh. And usually there's a drink around or something, so it's like, this big thing because it's horrific to watch. When that girl jumps off that chair trying to get into the pool and she misses and she hits a rib cage on the side of the pool and goes, upside down in there. Don't tell me nobody was harmed. All right. Just please stop with the virtue signaling of like, I didn't put up anything bad. These people are hurting and they're going to be hurting for a long time. So don't let that fool you. My second thing would be for the NFL on YouTube. Dear NFL on YouTube, not every game ending is insane. Look up the word insane and you'll see what I'm saying. Like I watched the end of that game. The guy missed a field goal. They kicked it off. They came back. The other guy scored a touchdown. Oh my God, they won. That was insane. No, it wasn't. Stop calling it that. It's not insane. It's not all these bombastic words. I'm not saying you should go all NPR and go like, well, there's a very interesting ending to yesterday's game. All right. I'm not saying that. But geez, with the insane, stop it. And the last thing I'll say is I love YouTube. I have been a fan of YouTube since it first started. I have learned so many things. I think what people need to do when they get mad about the ads is kind of balance that versus what you've learned for free, right? Like, so I can't tell you. I've learned how to use pulleys. I've learned how to take down dead man trees and be 60 feet away and not get hurt. I've learned how to replace a belt on my car. I had a tractor that had this thing and I looked it up and some guy's like an expert and he's like, well, you just do this, Fred. And boom, there I am. So I really love YouTube. So don't get me wrong. However, the algorithm that they use for you and the search bar, I'm under the impression they're made by the same people. Am I wrong? Like, don't they all work for Google? Do they not talk to each other? Because here's an example. So I'll be cruising through and I'll see something on Japanese culture, right? So I'm like, hey, things not to do in Japan or things you shouldn't say or do in Japan. It's, all etiquette stuff. And, I'm bored. So what the heck? It looks good. So I click on it and maybe someday I'll use that information and go, hey, if you ever go to Japan, don't do that. But the minute you refresh your page, YouTube all of a sudden thinks that I want to move to Japan. And I want to be as immersed in Japan culture as anybody could possibly be. I mean, every third window, every third video is something to do with Japan. So please, can you stop? Okay, so it's hard for me not to look at it as insulting because that's kind of my personality. And so, Scott, why do you get insulted when they do that? Because I know where the search bar is. That's why. Because if I wanted 72 videos on Japanese culture, I know where to find it. It's in that search bar right there. You put your little cursor there, you write in Japanese culture, and you can stay immersed in it for the rest of your life. But I don't want it like saturating my feed to the point that it does. It does the same thing if I take a trip to Alaska or if I do this. One thing, and all of a sudden they think this is the only thing you want to see. So that's my pet peeve with that. I think just easy on the algorithm. I know you want to show me a bunch of stuff. All right, so answer me this question, Mr. YouTube. At the top, it's got that bar with all the little subjects on it, and I click on news, and I got 5. Yeah, 5 news articles. That's it. You've got the whole world, the entire internet of the world. I click on news stories. I should be able to scroll until I'm blue in the face, but they give me 5. I refresh, I get the same 5, but they're in a different order. And I don't know how long it's going to be before they understand how insulting it is to the viewer. Netflix is guilty too. They've got all these lines of movies but they're just the same movies in different order. Like we're too stupid to figure that out. That's why we get upset and break things when we get older. I'm just kidding. Hey, thanks for watching the Scott Miller Show. I really appreciate you. We'll see you next time we come around. And what are you going to do with 2025? Write something down. Get outside the box and go make life interesting. And above all, be kind. And we'll see you next time.